but him during the time. So there was no way that he didn't have it.
Ms. Pammer sent 2 different men her pregnancy test results, claiming that they are both the fathers of her child, and now she has dragged one of those men to court, asking him to take responsibility for her son, Jayce. Mr. Ross says the only reason Ms. Pammer is doing this is because he has money, and he is certain he is not the father, because he says they always used condoms. Here is how Mr. Ross puts it.
He's denying your child, as we can see, Ms. Pammer. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're raising the child alone?
Yes, Your Honor.
With absolutely no help from Mr. Ross?
Correct.
Jayce is 3 months old?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, you're denying that this baby is yours, Mr. Ross, because you say you use condoms throughout the relationship?
Yes, Your Honor.
What was the nature of this relationship?
We were just friends with benefits, Your Honor.
It does not look like Mr. Ross is much of a talker. According to him, this is an open and shut case. But Ms. Pammer does not waste any time in turning on the waterworks and showing us what raising her child means to her.
I can see that this really hurts you. Ms. Pammer, what has it been like raising this child on your own?
It's hard. I raised my daughter by myself, and I never thought I would have to go through this myself. Not once again. And it's just like, to deal with this, I feel like I shouldn't have to go through this. I didn't ask for this, but I took upon all of this because that's what a woman's supposed to do.
It is hard not to feel for Ms. Pammer. She raised her daughter alone and now could be doomed to doing the same for her son, but Mr. Ross insists that he ain't gonna do nothing for a child that isn't his. Well, we will let the DNA test decide that, Mr. Ross. Here is how he explains how they met, and it is a crazy story, all right?
So I walked over and asked her, could I pump her gas for her? So she wouldn't have to stand outside in the cold. So I got done pumping the gas, asked her for a number because she was looking good. So once I got a number, we got the text. Next morning, she texted me, good morning. I told her good morning. She asked me what I was doing, asked me if I want to come over. I told her, yeah. I asked her to send the address. She sent the address. The address was 0.1 miles away. I said, oh, that's walking distance. I can go ahead and go over there and get some real quick.
Wow, that is genuinely jaw-dropping. So that is why Mr. Ross thinks it's impossible that he is the father of baby Jayce. If that happened to me, I also would think I am not the father. Seriously. Mr. Ross says when Ms. Pammer told him she would not get exclusive with him, he broke it off because of the rate of diseases and such. But why was he so scared about the rate of diseases if he used a condom? And Ms. Pammer says it is true.
I wasn't ready for a relationship only because I had just got out of a relationship.
Okay, well, that's fair. You were honest. So you weren't ready to settle down, but are you admitting as well that during this period of time, you're also sleeping with other people?
I met someone before him, and then it's just like when I started talking to him, it was just only him.
Okay, that clears it all up then. Everything is hunky-dory, and Mr. Ross should just accept that he is the father of the baby. Except that is really not how paternity court works at all. Things are always a bit more complicated, and here is one of such massive complications.
How soon after this did you hear, after this breakup?
Yo, about a month or two later, she sent a text message, a picture text message, which was a pregnancy test. I asked her what's the pregnancy test for. She tells me that it wasn't for me, it was for the other guy she thought was the father of her child.
Okay, things are just starting to heat up here. It makes sense that Mr. Ross would have doubts because who is he to say she is being honest about him being the father? Honestly, Mr. Ross is just being reasonable here. Maybe that is why Mr. Ross decides to buy her a car seat.
He wanted to, you know, he started claiming my son, sending pictures, everything. He made the statement of he would help me buy a car seat.
I said I would help buy a car seat.
Not only that, he
bad.
was claiming my son at the time.
Okay, but why would you do that if you did not think there was some chance that the baby was yours? Does that make any sense at all? And Ms. Pammer has some evidence that may prove that the child is indeed Mr. Ross's. She says she has gotten a DNA test with the other guy.
In the beginning of August, me and the alleged father, we got a DNA test. And in the midst of us getting a DNA test and the results came back, I immediately contacted Mr. Ross.
You immediately did?
Yes.
And what did you say when you reached out to him?
Okay, you know what? I think we have heard enough. It is time to get the DNA test results and unravel this mystery. Who is really the father of 3-month-old baby Jayce? Mr. Ross or someone else?
Mr. Ross, you are the father.
So what's next after this? Are you gonna step up and be his father? I was without my father for 23 years of my life.
Yeah, he'll take care of him.
Ms. Pammer, I know. When you tell me about your life and the fact you grew up without your father.
Mrs. Gamboa has been accused of sleeping with the babysitter to give birth to little Dominic. Mrs. Gamboa says this is an obvious lie, but Mr. Gamboa insists that Dominic actually looks like the babysitter. So who is telling the truth? Let us find out by listening to what Mrs. Gamboa has to say about these preposterous allegations.
On your husband with the babysitter?
No, Your Honor. The babysitter was in the bed at the time that Mr. Gamboa came home, but I did not cheat on him.
Oh, wait a minute. The babysitter was in the bed?
Yes, on top of the bed.
That's on the bed. Mr. Gamboa, you saw the babysitter on your bed?
I was at work, Your Honor, and I got a phone call because we're all living in the same house. My stepfather had called me saying that the babysitter...
Okay, that is at best a little weird and at worst straight evidence of some hanky-panky between Mrs. Gamboa and the babysitter. So which is it? Well, Ms. Gamboa said that when Mr. Gamboa came home, she was in the living room and that the babysitter just slept in their room because he was tired. Okay, but do you really believe that is what happened? Ms. Gamboa elaborates a little bit for us. Why did they even have a male babysitter?
The thing happened was the male babysitter was his decision in the first place. It was a mutual friend of ours that he knew more than I did.
Discussed. Doesn't
and
mean
then
that
he was not
he can
living
come
with
into the room
us at
and
the time.
sleep.
He was not living with us at the time. And Mr. Gamboa offered him to stay with us because he was homeless with his 2 children.
No, we had
So you took in his children.
Right. And ever since then, it's been a living hell for me.
Well, that sounds like an interesting living situation. Mrs. Gamboa says that at one point they had about 8 kids in the house. That is a lot of work for one babysitter. So let us get to the other point. Why does Mr. Gamboa think this child looks like the babysitter?
He looks just like him, and then he walks like him.
I mean, the babysitter walks like me too, and
no, he
look
doesn't.
at the back of his
No,
head.
The babysitter walks like you?
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. And the back, I mean, the back shape of his head too looks just like the babysitter's.
He looks just like his dad. He has the same bump in the back of his head.
That does not sound like a particularly good reason, does it? Well, Mr. Gamboa might think he has issues with his fertility, but he clearly already has one son that he does not deny. So why is little Dominic's paternity an issue to him? But it gets weirder for Mr. Gamboa here.
Only Dominic and not our first son.
Well, Your Honor, when we conceived our first son, we were all living with her ex. We were all living in one house. So I mean,
right, and he knew about it.
All of you all were living in one house.
When we first got together, we were in high school or junior high sweethearts.
So if I couldn't conceive with my first wife, and then all of a sudden I conceived my first son.
Okay, yeah, that is weird, but it has nothing to do with baby Dominic's paternity, right? Weird people do weird things all the time, but that does not change whether they are parents of a child or not. Well, it gets even stranger because Ms. Gamboa suspects the babysitter of something very horrible.
I strongly believe that our babysitter was trying to mess up our marriage, because at the end of this whole situation, our babysitter, when we kicked him out, he had no place to go. He went to Mr. Gamboa, oh, you should leave her and let's get a house together. And then he would come to me behind his back and be like, oh, let's leave him. He's no good for you.
Snapping photos.
We should get a house together.
Wow, can we get that babysitter in here to talk about his own side of the story? Mrs. Gamboa goes on to explain just how badly she has been treated by Mr. Gamboa because of his paternity doubt, and it is really depressing stuff.
When I gave birth to Dominic, Mr. Gamboa was there 13 hours throughout my pain, suffering, everything. He cut the umbilical cord, gave him a kiss, took pictures with him. 20 minutes after I gave birth to Dominic, he left, gave me a kiss saying he was gonna go get clothes and come back because I was in a lot of pain when I had Dominic.
Yes, that's right. Anyway, it is time to really figure out whose baby this is. Is Mr. Gamboa here Dominic's father, or does that honor belong to the babysitter? Let us find out right now.
Mr. Gamboa, you are his father.
Thank you. Thank you. That's your baby. Bond with him. No more bond with him.
Yeah, I will. I will be his father.
So, Mr. Gamboa, your years have been laid. That is your full handsome son, and you've now missed out on 1 year.
Ms. Johnson named her child after one man and is now claiming that another man is the father. Both men are in court today to discover who actually is the father of little baby Jeremiah. Mr. Rice, who Ms. Johnson now says is the father, says he is certain he is not the actual father and says he knows for certain who the real father is, and that is why he has never come to see the baby. Here's how he puts it.
Mr. Rice, you say you are 100% certain you are not her child's biological father, and you claim to know who is.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Johnson, Mr. Rice has never met your son?
No, ma'am. Since he was born, he wasn't at the hospital or nothing like that.
Wow, that is cold. Real cold. The funny thing is that Mr. Rice never even dated Ms. Johnson. Mrs. Johnson broke up with her ex and was in her feelings. And that is how she got with Mr. Rice for a rebound. They slept together, and then Mrs. Johnson found out that she was pregnant. And then this happened.
Me and Mr. Rice had already talked about, he said he wanted kids, and I didn't think it was a problem. I thought he would be happy that I was pregnant. He was happy, but then I don't know.
Then what?
I got in my feelings and I broke up with her. I think it was more.
And what did she do next? Well, she went back to her ex while pregnant and got with him. Here is how that entire gig looked to Mr. Rice, who was initially happy he was going to be the father of a baby.
I realized that my feelings wasn't as strong as they should have been, so I told him that I didn't want to be with him.
So, Mr. Rice, tell me your side of the story. She tells you she's pregnant and you say you're happy at first?
Yes, I was excited about it until she decided to tell me it could be her ex's baby or it could be my baby.
Oh, okay. That changes a lot of things. In fact, it changes basically everything. Mr. Rice always wanted to have a child, and now the woman he wanted to have a child with was telling him that she wanted to break up, and also that the kid in her belly might not be his. That is devastating. What is more devastating is what the doctor told him.
Well, we go on, I go to about one doctor's appointment with her. And after that, she tells me she has an STD. I say, okay. So I go to the doctor, I get checked, I take the medicine. But the doctor calls me the next day and tells me, sir, you don't have an STD at all.
That doesn't make sense to me at all, Your Honor.
That sounds suspicious. So who should we believe? Years and years of medical research saying something like this should not be possible. Or Ms. Johnson. In other words, should we believe her over our lying eyes? Anyway, she continues to insist that she did not cheat. And Mr. Rice says they never had protected intercourse, ever. So who does he think is the biological father?
That means she was cheating already.
I haven't cheated on him. I haven't been with anybody else but Mr. Rice.
But it doesn't make sense, because right after we broke up, maybe a week or two later, she was right back with her ex.
But he knew that. He knew that I wanted to be with my ex. He knew, because I told him I don't have feelings for you like that. I mean, I care about you, but I don't love, like, I'm not in love with you.
That is crazy. Now you can really understand why Mr. Rice is so adamant that this baby isn't his. Anyone would think the same, right? Anyone. Now let us hear from the other man who might be the father in this case.
She admitted she got an STD and he did not have it. So did you have one that you could pass to her?
No, ma'am, because we had took a test too. I didn't have it.
You did not have it?
Yes.
So, Ms. Johnson, was there somebody else?
No, I've never cheated on in any of my relationships. So honestly, I don't know how neither one of them didn't have it.
Okay, that's not very believable, but we will take her word for it. And now, it is time to talk about the gigantic elephant in the room. If Mr. James is not the father and Mr. Rice is, why did Ms. Johnson name her child after a variant of Mr. James's name? Let us hear what Ms. Johnson has to say.
Baby Jeremiah has a middle name, Samaj.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Which is James spelled backwards.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's Mr. Williams.
Yes, Your Honor. I felt like since he was there from day one that he should get some kind of credit for, being there and taking care of him. So I didn't feel like that was a problem.
We ain't in school. This ain't an extra credit.
Exactly. Judge Lauren, this is certainly one of the reasons Mr. Rice believes so strongly that this is not his baby. Well, it is time to find out what exactly is happening here by checking the DNA test results and seeing whose baby this is.
In the case of Johnson versus Rice, pertaining to whether Mr. Williams or Mr. Rice is the father of 6-month-old Jeremiah Johnson, it has been determined by this court the biological father is Mr. Rice. You are the father.
Miss Moody does not know who the father of her 2-year-old is because she was sleeping with 2 men who happened to know each other at the time the baby was conceived. And she did this all without protection. Mr. Brackens wants the child to be his, but he cannot be sure because of Miss Moody's bed-jumping antics. And here is what Miss Moody has to say.
If the results don't turn out to be the way that I need them to be and the way that I have full 100% confidence that they are, my family is on the line. And like I said, my family is everything to me. I don't want to lose my soon-to-be husband. I don't want to lose what we have. We have something beautiful, and I just really need to prove to him that Raelynn is his daughter.
Well, let us see how that goes. Mr. Bracken says that this entire fiasco has affected his relationship with Raelynn, the daughter in question. He says she means the world to him, but this paternity doubt is destroying his family, and here is how the doubt started.
And so that was very hard for me to figure out, okay, how am I gonna stop this and pick this up and be faithful to him and show him he is what I want in life. He is where I want to be. It was very hard. It was very hard for me to tell the other guy, because I can't lie. I had caught feelings there too. There was a sexual relationship. I had caught feelings there too.
So wait, how did you even find out, Mr. Brackens?
Your Honor, I found out through a family member.
What happened?
He was like, hey man, I need to let you know that you're not the only person.
Wow, that is heavy. So Ms. Moody admits that she was cheating on this man who had love and affection for her with another man she also loved. And that is the entire reason she is in court today. But hold, wait a minute, because it gets even worse when Judge Lauren asks an interesting question.
Okay, but for the purposes of this courtroom, we need to understand this specific question. While you were with Mr. Brackens when he got back in town, you were still intimate and having sex with the other person too. So you were having sex with both men during that period of time?
Your Honor, I would go spend the night with Mr. Brackens, and I would literally leave his house in the morning, go to my house.
Yeah, that is more than enough for a really strong paternity doubt. And it gets even worse because just a week and a half after leaving the other man, Ms. Moody finds out she is pregnant. This means it is very probable that the other man is the father of Raelynn. No wonder Mr. Brackens is tearing up, because this is a genuinely horrible situation to be in.
Ever since then, the day that he gave me the ultimatum to be with him or to be with this other man, and I chose him. Even though I had done so much garbage, he didn't hold it against me. He respected that enough that I was okay. I want to get my stuff together. You're putting your foot down. I'm moving in with you, and this is what I want. To be honest, my family member, his ex at the time was teasing about being pregnant, and I was like, well, if you'll take a pregnancy test, I'll take one.
This must be so painful for him, especially as he loves Raelynn with all his heart. It is a horrible situation to be in. He initially wanted to take care of the child without ever doing a DNA test, but despite his devotion, his doubt continued to creep in.
And yet, despite your devotion, your doubt still kept creeping in.
Your Honor, I can't even put it into words. I just been worried about taking care of another man's baby the whole time, but I just looked over it. I just looked over it because I fell in love with this child ever since she came. When I'm in the floor playing with her, throwing her up in the air, going to the park.
In the back of your mind, you're thinking,
I could be taking care of another man's baby.
That is so painful. And things got worse because the other man is still in the picture and has now said he thinks that the child could be his because of some resemblance. Here is how Ms. Moody puts the entire situation.
I lost all contact with him throughout the 9 months of pregnancy, blocked social media, blocked numbers, phone numbers blocked, everything was blocked. After my daughter was born, this man starts getting friends of friends and trying to say, you know, that baby looks so much like my youngest baby. He has 3 children of his own, and he was trying to compare my child to his.
So the other man saw pictures of Raelynn?
Yes, Your Honor, he did.
Wow. This is a truly upsetting situation for everyone involved. But the only way to move forward is to check the DNA test results and see whether Ms. Moody and Mr. Brackens will be able to deal with the truth. Let us see what is in that envelope.
Mr. Brackens, you are her father. How does it feel, Mr. Brackens, to look at your beautiful little girl with no doubt in your mind, not another thought?
It's amazing, Your Honor.
Mr. Brackens, you have done an amazing thing for this child.
Mr. Dark and Miss Bailey are one strange couple. They've had their fair share of ups and downs. Mr. Dark claims that Miss Bailey is a promiscuous liar who broke his heart by cheating on him. But hold on tight, because Miss Bailey is now accusing Mr. Dark of being the father of her 11-month-old son, Jamir.
Mr. Dark, you say the defendant is a promiscuous liar who broke your heart 4 years ago, stepping out on your then relationship. You admit to having a one-night stand with her 2 years ago, but are furious Ms. Bailey is now claiming you fathered her 11-month-old son, which you say is impossible. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Dark starts off by telling us about their rocky relationship. They were together for 4 years, living under the same roof, and even had dreams of starting a family. But things took a dark turn when Mr. Dark went out of town for work, no pun intended. While he was away, Miss Bailey's best friend spilled the beans and revealed this.
Miss Bailey, you say Mr. Dark is a deadbeat who knows full well he is your son Jamir's father. You claim there is no way anyone but Mr. Dark could have fathered your son. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So Mr. Dark admits that he cheated on Miss Bailey too, but he says he only did it because he thought she was cheating on him. Talk about a toxic cycle. These two just couldn't seem to trust each other. And guys, it gets worse.
When I left out of the door to go to the store, her best friend came running out of the door to like, hey, Terrence, wait up for a second. I'm gonna go to the store with you. So, I thought that was kind of strange. Like, why'd you, But anyway, we went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone.
That's right. Even after their breakup, Mr. Dark and Miss Bailey couldn't resist each other's charms. They kept hooking up every few months, even though they weren't together anymore. Now, I'm no relationship expert, but that doesn't sound like the best way to move on, does it? But hey, love makes us do crazy things, right?
I tried to work it past for about approximately a year or so, but I just couldn't take it. I couldn't deal with it no more.
And so how is it you came back together? Because Jamir is 11 months old, so that something else had to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We never stopped. We never stopped dealing with each other along the way. Even though we separated, we still occasionally seen each other every, like.
Miss Bailey claims that Mr. Dark is baby Jimmy's only possible father, but Mr. Dark isn't convinced. He argues that the timeline just doesn't add up. According to his calculations, he and Miss Bailey weren't intimate until March, and Jamir was born in November. Something's fishy here.
Really intimate was around in March.
Yeah.
If Jamir's birth date is November 13, 2016, then that means the conception window would be February 17th to February 24th, 2016.
Right.
And you said you all weren't intimate until March.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
To make matters even more complicated, Mr. Dark has a new girlfriend, Miss Bradley, who is pregnant with his child. This web is getting more tangled by the minute. Miss Bradley even questions the physical resemblance between Mr. Dark and baby Jamir.
Question then is, were you intimate in February during the window of conception we outlined between February 17th to February 24th?
No, ma'am.
No.
Both of you said no. So, Miss Bailey, I must ask you, respectfully, who were you intimate with during that time in February?
No one. I haven't had sex in February.
Mr. Dark then reveals that Miss Bailey has a history of paternity questions with her previous child. She also has a thing for men in relationships. Yup, this girl just can't catch a break when it comes to paternity issues. Let's see if the truth finally comes out here.
What else do you know about the paternity situation?
Well, my due date is November 19th. My conception date is February 24th.
Oh, and we're now 1 year later, but what you're saying is that you have a similar due date as the one that was presented for Jamir, as when Jamir was born.
Yes.
Now, according to Judge Lake, Mr. Dark made a big mistake by signing the birth certificate before confirming paternity. By doing so, he legally acknowledged himself as the father of baby Jamir. And guys, that's a tough pill to swallow if you have doubt.
I'm telling you, that's exactly what she said to me.
Listen, ultimately, it's Jamir's life that's truly at stake in this moment, because your relationship seems to be resolved, but the paternity question has not been resolved.
Right.
What are you hoping for, Miss Bailey?
That he step up and that he do for my baby. Like, I don't understand.
All right, folks, it's time for the moment of truth. The DNA results are in, and we're about to find out if Mr. Dark is the father of baby Jimmy. Emotions are running high, and the stakes couldn't be higher for baby Jamir.
Mr. Dark, you are the father. You are the father.
I told you that he was yours.
Your word ain't, man.
Okay.
So listen, when I first told you were the father, Mr. Dark, I saw genuine emotion on your face, because I felt like in that moment you understood.
If you thought shame and regret automatically follow every cheater, you'd be dead wrong. Mr. Muhammad is determined to prove that he is the biological father of Miss Walton's 2-year-old daughter, Brooklyn. Miss Walton, on the other hand, blatantly confesses to having an affair with another man every single day of the month. There's no telling how this one will go.
Mr. Muhammad, you are here to prove that you are the father of the defendant's 2-year-old daughter, Brooklyn. You claim the only reason she is denying paternity is because she wants to be in a relationship with the other man. Is that correct?
Yes, Sean.
Infidelity is no stranger to this court, but cheating every day of the month takes it to a whole new level. The sheer audacity and commitment to deceit is mind-boggling. One can't help but wonder how Miss Walton managed to juggle multiple affairs on a daily basis. So maybe she can fill us in.
You were secretly cheating on Mr. Muhammad and had sex with the other man almost every day of the month. And there is no way Mr. Muhammad is Brooklyn's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that was enlightening. So according to Miss Walton, her affair was only in response to Mr. Muhammad's affair, a fact which Mr. Muhammad conveniently left out of his testimony. Turns out we have a messy one in our hands, folks. Let's hear Mr. Muhammad's rebuttal.
They have an affair with another woman before he had moved in with me. And during that time, while he was having his affair, I was having my affair also.
Oh, so you all were together, but both having affairs?
Yes. Well, baby, I wouldn't say we were together.
No. I wasn't having no affair. We were together. She told me that this gentleman was her cousin.
Things just got even more outrageous when we learned that Mr. Muhammad believed the other man was Miss Walton's cousin. Adding fuel to the fire, Miss Walton admits to having unprotected sex with both men during the window of conception. This revelation turns the paternity question into a real puzzle. With two potential fathers in the picture, it's a race against time to uncover the truth.
Sneak around with the other guy behind Mr. Muhammad's back.
Well, what happens is we was sneaking off to the hotel and having our, relations there.
And where were you supposed to be? Where did you tell Mr. Muhammad you were?
Work.
I told him I was at work.
All right.
She ain't at work. She ain't at work.
I did work because during my pregnancy I was working 2 jobs. So Mr. Muhammad wouldn't even help me with anything.
She's cheating, Your Honor. While she's thinking she at work, she's cheating.
Mr. Muhammad stumbled upon a text message from Miss Walton to the other man, revealing her missed period. He should have probably stopped snooping around at that point because he also found out that Miss Walton and her so-called cousin were having a full relationship behind his back. That was the moment that set the stage for this courtroom showdown.
So you had no idea.
I had no idea about this man. Like I said, she told me in the beginning that was a cousin. I ain't thinking none of it. I'm thinking it's a family member.
So can you tell me how you found out about the man at all? Just start from the beginning.
You stop having sex with me. Your Honor, I know when you start having sex with me, it's a problem there.
Mr. Muhammad passionately insists that he is Brooklyn's father. He points to their shared features and emphasizes his commitment to being a responsible parent. On the other hand, Miss Walton maintains her stance, insisting that the other man is the biological father due to the frequency of their encounters during the window of conception.
We want to know about the window of conception.
I know the date. The date was February 21st in my mama's house, in the bathroom. We was in the mood. She was in the mood. She go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom after. That's the date that we have. Brooklyn.
The DNA test results are in. These two have been going back and forth the whole time, but it's finally time to shut up and learn the truth. And guys, the outcome is nothing short of a bombshell. Here's how it went down.
Mr. Muhammad, you are the father.
Yes. I told you. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about, baby. I know what I'm talking about. 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 You hear me? I know what I'm talking about.
Right now, you have 2 children together. Let's stop making this a fight. Do you understand?
Yeah. Like we said, this court is no stranger to infidelity. On that note, meet Ms. Lima, who found herself in a sticky situation after having an affair with Mr. Anderson, a married man. Buckle up, folks, because we're about to witness a roller coaster of emotion.
Ms. Lima, you admit to making a huge mistake and hope it doesn't affect your baby Christina. You had an affair with Mr. Anderson, who is married, and believe he's your daughter's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Anderson claims to love his wife and family, but he made a terrible mistake during a heated argument. Instead of working things out, he decided to cheat on his wife. That's a unique way of dealing with things.
So, Ms. Lima, tell us how you got yourself into this mess.
Yes, Your Honor. It all started from a Facebook message when Mr. Anderson was messaging me on Facebook. So we started being friends online for about 1.5 years. Then out of the blue one day, he called me and said, let's go out for dinner. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything, so why not?
Hold on tight, because things are about to get even messier. Mr. Anderson claims that he only cheated with Ms. Lima once, but that was debunked almost immediately. Ms. Lima reveals that she went to Mr. Anderson's house multiple times and even had the audacity to describe the furniture to his wife.
Assertion that this went on, she told your wife she was your girlfriend for 1 year.
Well,
that's not one night. Was it one night or was it a year?
Well, it was one night. I haven't heard from her in months. And then she come telling me that, she's pregnant, she having a baby, and she says mine, she wanted to be my baby and all that type of stuff. I told her.
So apparently, there's yet another man in the picture, Mr. Scott. He claims to have been involved with Ms. Lima at the same time she was seeing Mr. Anderson. It's a love triangle, guys. Or is it a love square? And things only got more interesting from there.
Well, if she's looking for a cash out, you gave her the directions. Because you led her right to your treasure. And that's your family. You did.
Yeah.
So you become pregnant.
Yes.
What a bombshell. Mr. Scott reveals that Ms. Lima told him about Mr. Anderson and the possibility that he could be the father of her child. As the court proceedings continue, tensions rise between Mr. Anderson and his devastated wife.
Very difficult testimony. I know that was hard for you to hear.
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Has the testimony you heard today been different from the understanding you've had?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please explain.
Once we messaged each other, I asked her for her phone number because I want to talk on the phone. You understand? And when she was telling me the things that she was telling me.
The jury is still out on this couple's future, but the DNA test results are in. The courtroom is buzzing with anticipation as Judge Lake receives the envelope. It's time for the moment of truth. Will it be Mr. Anderson, Mr. Scott, or someone else entirely?
Mr. Scott, you are not her father. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are not her father.
Oh my God.
There can't be.
Oh my God.
Mr. McCormick thought he found the perfect woman until he discovered she was a serial cheater on a rampage. Ms. Ball, the woman in question, admits to her past infidelities but is positive that Mr. McCormick is the father of her son.
Mr. McCormick, you say you thought you found the perfect woman until you discovered the love of your life with just a serial cheater on a rampage. You say Ms. Ball is a shameless adulteress and there is no way you are her son Gavin's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, our story begins at a party where Mr. McCormick and Ms. Ball first laid eyes on each other. It was love at first sight, or so they thought. They started dating, and everything seemed perfect. They played sports together, bonded with each other's families, and even Mr. McCormick's daughter liked Ms. Ball. But it all went down the drain when he found out that Ms. Ball had a secret life as a serial cheater.
And you intend to prove paternity today, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. McCormick, what do you mean she's a serial cheater?
Well, Your Honor, yeah, I found text messages. I've seen her getting in strange vehicles.
That's not
I've seen videos. What haven't I found? Like, you know, there's no way that I could be this child's father. I'm starting to become numb to all this. It's getting old.
Mr. McCormick started noticing some strange behavior from Ms. Ball. She would get into strange vehicles, receive suspicious text messages, and even send some scandalous pictures. Red flags were flying everywhere, but Ms. Ball had an excuse for everything.
The nature of your relationship, how did it begin?
We saw each other at a party, and when I first saw him, I was physically attracted to him, and so I started talking to him. I asked him if he wanted to hang out, and I said, where can we hang out? And he said, you can go to my house with me, and we've been together ever since.
Check out the evidence Mr. McCormick brought to the court. He had it all. He had pictures of Ms. Ball getting into strange trucks, videos of her engaging in questionable conversations, and even some scandalous text messages. This man was on a mission to catch a serial cheater, and as you can see, he wasn't holding back.
And you believe she was cheating?
She was, I mean, what else would you be doing? Why else would she lie about it? And she was acting fishy before she took off. That's the reason I'd followed her.
All right. And then what is next on this exhibit?
Well, and I saw her getting to another truck. I guess she just likes trucks.
I like trucks.
She's a trucker.
She says she likes trucks.
I guess she does.
Ms. Ball actually admitted to cheating, not once, but multiple times. She came clean about her past infidelities, but she insisted that Mr. McCormick was the father of her son. She even brought up the dates and the doctor's estimation to prove her point.
Something shady was going on.
He heard a butt down, you know, it goes.
She's a beast.
That's me having sex. Yes, he's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I heard a girl
Y'all
say,
know
you can
when you
have
butt
him,
down
girl.
someone.
When the call connected, what did you hear or see?
I heard another female say, you can have him now, girl. And she denied that. She said that it wasn't her voice.
Oh, so you think they're having a threesome?
A threesome.
The tension in the courtroom is palpable as Mr. McCormick expresses his doubts. He loves Gavin, the little boy he's been raising since birth, but he can't shake off the feeling that he might not be the biological father. It's heartbreaking.
They added up the dates. When the doctor added up the dates came to June 20th. I had not messed around since May, and I mean, honestly, I'm over June 20th. I hadn't messed around since like May 2nd, and we moved in together, and
now she's a mathematician.
Gavin, the adorable little boy caught in the middle of this mess, deserves to know the truth and to have a stable and loving family. His parents obviously have their faults, but he is innocent in all of this. The stakes are high, and the truth needs to come out. It's time for the DNA results.
Mr. McCormick.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are the father.
Well, I'm glad, Your Honor. I'm glad. Now we can move forward.
Stop the accusations. Let's move forward and raise this little boy. I've made mistakes, I've grown from them, and I'm not gonna create the same mess that I just got done cleaning up. I'm ready to focus completely on him.
So we've already met a bunch of them, but guys, there's no shortage of cheaters in the world. Which brings us to Ms. Thompson, who is summoning a married man, Mr. McKinley, to prove that he is the father of her 6-month-old son, Legend. This is about to be, excuse the pun, legendary.
Ms. Thompson, you are summoning Mr. McKinley to court to prove to him and his wife that he fathered your 6-month-old son, Legend. You say his wife is petty, and she is the cause of his paternity denial. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Thompson starts off by telling the court how she ended up in a relationship with a married man. She explains that she and Mr. McKinley were just friends with benefits, but things took a turn when he started liking and commenting on her Facebook pictures.
I ended up in a relationship with Terrell, and I wouldn't consider it a relationship. I would consider it friends with benefits. I was on Facebook, and he was always liking my pictures, pictures. He was commenting on my pictures. He was always trying to get attention, to be noticed. One day, excuse me, I'll let you talk. One day, anyway, one day, I finally gave him a chance because he was real thirsty.
Mr. McKinley, on the other hand, denies everything. He claims that Ms. Thompson is just a side chick and that she knew he was married. The tension in the courtroom is boiling over as Ms. Thompson and Mrs. McKinley exchange heated words. It's clear that there's no love lost between these two.
I go. From my knowledge, I post a picture of me leaving the studio. Miss Thompson got in my DM, when you gonna bring me to the studio? I said, well, I don't know. Do you rap? She like, yeah,
he
she
can't even rap.
I said, well, okay.
He can barely talk.
I'll lay it there and bring you today.
You know what?
So look, lay it on
no,
that
I
day.
don't.
Ms. Thompson claims that Mr. McKinley took her to meet his entire family in New Orleans. Wait, what? This just got even messier. She even went swimming with them. But Mr. McKinley has a different story to tell. He says that he only took her to New Orleans because she was homeless and needed somewhere to go.
In a bed, under the cover.
Whose house was this?
I took the cover off her head, and I'm like asking him, what's going on? He's like, well, we doing music, sit down. I'm like, no, I won't sit down.
You doing music in the bed under the cover?
I had my
Your Honor.
He was doing music. He wasn't having sex.
You asked me, and that's how I found out. I had an idea it was her.
The tension in the courtroom reaches its peak as Ms. Thompson confronts Mr. McKinley about their sexual encounters. She admits that she wasn't always sober and that she made a mistake. Oh, the plot thickens. But will Mr. McKinley finally admit that he is the father?
Got this about 3 months ago.
Come on.
Through a text telling my husband, oh, this legend dad right here.
That's legend dad there.
This evidence,
yes, ma'am,
is a picture you said you saw.
Your Honor.
Where?
She sent it
to me.
To Rael's phone. It's still in his phone. As a matter of fact, it's still in her phone.
Yeah,
in his phone.
So you got a text, and it was this picture, and the caption was
Legend's
real father.
Yes,
Goodbye.
It's time for the moment of truth, folks. The DNA results are in, and Judge Lake is about to reveal the truth. Will Mr. McKinley step up and be the father he needs to be? Or will Ms. Thompson have to continue her search for Legend's biological father?
Mr. McKinley, you are the father.
And he's a handsome baby. He get compliments all the time, so.
He is beautiful. In the spirit of that beauty and that innocence, let's go forward better than we have before.
I don't want drama. I never did want drama. It just hurt me when I asked for something and they don't do it.
Ms. Henny cheated on her partner Mr. Fye with his childhood best friend. And now Mr. Fye wants to know if the 2 children he had with Ms. Henny belongs to him or belongs to his brother from another mother. Of course, this has traumatized Mr. Fye endlessly, and you can see the trauma in his face as he talks about it.
Your Honor, these kids, they call me daddy every day. Kind of hurts me because as they got older, kids don't look like me.
They do look exactly like
They don't look like me. I mean, Nathan, he's got different features than what I have. And, you know, little Sammy, he kind of looks more like Nathan too. They both look alike. And, you know, little Sammy's got my full name, except for he's the 4th. And I don't think it's right.
Wow, that is very painful. And then Mr. Fye explains how his partner, Ms. Henny, cheated on him with his friend just because he was gone for 45 days. Can you imagine the anguish this poor man must be feeling right now?
People, even friends, told me that she was messing around with a guy from the neighborhood.
We were not messing around.
That's not what my friends told me, but when I confronted the gentleman about it, he came, you know, I was on the phone with him, and he told me they did mess around twice. Well, when I confronted her about it, she denied it. So I had him on the cell phone. And then when I confronted her with the cell phone with him on it, she started crying, and then she admitted to me she cheated on me once.
So yes, Ms. Henny admitted to cheating on her boyfriend, but that is not where it ended. She also says it only happened about 2 months before she got pregnant. But would you believe her? Would you believe anything a cheating partner told you? Mr. Fye clearly does not believe that, and he has his reasons.
Mr. Fye, you don't seem to be buying that.
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I've caught recent text messages in her phone of her talking to her ex-boyfriends. And, you know, we've been together for 6 years on and off. And every time we've split up, we wasn't even split up a week or 2 and she was already messing around with some other guy.
All right, so you have doubts surrounding both children.
Those sound like good reasons for doubting if your kids are really yours. But then Mr. Fye decides to become a physiognomy expert and starts measuring skulls to explain why he thinks Ms. Henny's children are not his, which made him sound like a certain mustached German.
I have an oval-shaped head, okay, Your Honor? My ears are close to my head. He has a block head. I mean, his ears have a dip in them. I don't have none of them.
I'm sorry, but I have dips in my ears. He has my ears.
I don't have big ears like he does. His sticks out more, and he has that block head. I don't have a block head. Mine's more of an oval shape, like an egg.
So You're saying your head is an oval shape?
Yes, Your Honor.
Looks like Judge Lauren Lake is not buying that either. Anyway, let the judge ask the real question that has been on everyone's mind since this case started. And it is simple.
Ms. Henny, how did you end up sleeping with your boyfriend's close friend?
Our kids hung out. When he went away for that 45 days, we were hanging out with our kids, and it didn't start out that way, but it's just one thing led to another, and...
45 days is only a month and a half.
Yeah.
So were you all in a good relationship when he went away?
I mean, not really.
Exactly right, Judge. Exactly right. If it takes just 45 days of being apart from your woman for her to jump in another person's bed, then you have got something else coming. So let us ask another burning question.
This friend was over with the kids, one thing led to another. You say you slept with him. How many times?
Once.
He told me twice.
He confessed this to you?
Yes, Your Honor. I suspected them messing around because I was gone, and him and his girlfriend had split up right before I left too. But when I asked her, she told me, oh, I went over and set up a play date. I told her I didn't know setting up a play date is what you guys call it nowadays.
Well, that is some play date, you'd say. Anyway, Mr. Phi says he believes that his friend Nadahan is the father of both children and that Ms. Henny slept with this friend multiple times to make both babies. That is insane, but Ms. Henny denies it. However, Mr. Phi has evidence.
And why do you know she's lying?
Because, I mean, the guy told me he messed around with her twice already.
Because he said twice. You think it's...
And I mean, she's never lied to me in the past before. And then when I was, when we split up, that's who she ran back to. 3 weeks after him and her, got done, me and her got back together, and that's when she said she was pregnant with Sammy.
There was like a 2-month difference between any pregnancy and me cheating on him.
Ms. Henny insists that Mr. Phi is the father, but Mr. Phi is not buying that story at all. Ms. Henny also has her evidence that the kids belong to Mr. Phi, and you could never guess what that evidence is.
I have their birth certificates that he signed.
I'd like to see those. Jerome?
She cheated on me 4 times, Your
It was
Honor.
not 4 times, it was 1
4
time.
times?
4 times.
1 time.
So these are the birth certificates for the children. The first, Nathan James Phi, father's name, Samuel John Phi III. The second child, Samuel John Phi IV, father Samuel John Phi III.
Really? 4 times? Really? And a birth certificate cannot be evidence that a man is the biological father of a child when there is a credible paternity doubt. So Ms. Henny is just flat out wrong on this one. Anyway, let us get to the bottom of this case and find out if Mr. Phi is really the father of both of these kids.
Mr. Phi, you are the father.
Who does it look like who?
Mr. Phi, you are the father.
Change what name?
Did you have sexual intercourse with anyone other? You said no. The lie detector determined that you were being truthful.
Ms. James says that she asked Mrs. Beversdorf to take a DNA test 3 times to prove that she is the mother of her deceased son's Darley's child, but Ms. Bevsdorf refused. Therefore, she is certain that Ms. Beversdorf is a liar and that Dakari is not really her grandchild. Of course, this denial has affected Ms. Beversdorf a lot.
They don't accept him, they don't accept me. I'm just ready for him to have acceptance, love. I want it to be real, not fake. I want him to, just feel like that's all family. Everybody's family, not just my side, not just their side. I want it to be genuine, and I just know once I get these test results, it will be genuine, and everybody will really know the truth. I want him to know and to really have proof that that is his father. I'd never want him to doubt that.
Okay, Ms. James, let us hear from you. Ms. James insists that Ms. Beversdorf was always fighting with her son, and they were always breaking up, and she constantly saw other people outside of her son. But Ms. Beversdorf argues that this was a lie.
I've never been seen with anybody else. I've never been with anybody else.
You haven't been seen with anybody else, but when you were living in the house with us, you were gone. You're gone 2 weeks, and I'm like, where's Kayla?
No, I was gone 2 weeks.
Where?
With my
someone
sister,
else?
at my sister's house.
And when my
Wasn't with
son came
anybody
to
else.
your house, she came outside to talk to him, but she wouldn't let him in the house, and she made him leave.
Wow. Okay, Ms. Beversdorf says that she dated Daryl for 4.5 years before having his baby, but Ms. James here insists that something like that never happened. You kind of get the feeling that Ms. James here really does not like Ms. Beversdorf. Here is how she says she found out that Ms. Beversdorf was even pregnant.
They had broken up, and 2 weeks she was gone, and then she came back the next week, and
I was already pregnant, Your Honor. I was already
and the
pregnant.
next week she came back, Your Honor, and now they're telling me that she was pregnant. And you want me to say, well, okay?
I was already pregnant when me and him split up for the 2 weeks.
But I mean, respectfully, how does Ms. James know that?
She leaves for a couple of weeks, come back and telling me she's pregnant.
Oh, Okay then, moving on. Ms. Beversdorf says that Daryl always believed that the child was his, but Ms. James disputes this because somehow Daryl did not sign the birth certificate with his name on it. If he truly believed the child was his, would that happen? Really? This is getting really confusing. And here is what Ms. James thinks.
You missed the birth certificate signing, but she's gonna come back to our room for you to sign it. He said, okay. By that time, we were so excited bringing in the new baby. We didn't even remember about the birth certificate.
I asked him prior, almost 2 weeks to him dying, to sign that birth certificate because
she didn't know when he was gonna die.
I didn't.
She did not know.
I'm just saying. I wanted,
So
and you
2
know
weeks
that I
prior,
told
that
him.
Well, that is not a great sight. Imagine the young boy at the center of all this, growing up and watching his mother argue with his potential grandmother this way. Anyway, the point of the argument is that Daryl expressed doubts that the child was his. And then Ms. James drops a bomb on the court by saying this.
For the simple fact of now I have tried to get DNA 3 times.
She never tried 3 times.
Yes, I have, Your Honor. You know why she don't know about 3 times?
She never tried to get no DNA
because she
test.
never shows up.
She never met me nowhere. We never even had that as
I didn't have to meet you nowhere.
She never
I told
called,
you what
she
the
never
place
said
was.
anything.
Miss James, take me through each time.
If this is true, then it becomes super likely that the baby does not belong to Daryl and instead belongs to another man. Because think about it, why would he refuse to sign the birth certificate? Absolutely no reason. Anyway, Judge Lauren wants to know about these 3 times, and Ms. James is very happy to spill.
The first time that I recall telling Kayla about getting the DNA, my son had crossed over. He had died. In the process of him dying, Your Honor, 2 weeks, I told her to go get his Social Security. We went down there. They told us we needed a DNA so that we can prove that he was his because he didn't sign the birth certificate.
Ms. Beversdorf denies that this happened and says that if she denied the DNA test, why would she come to paternity court then? And that is a great question, except for the tiny fact that liars come to paternity court all the time. Then both women start arguing and screaming at each other again.
When are you all coming home?
They were never supposed to go to Omaha. They were supposed
But
to go
you
to
knew
St.
I wanted to
Louis,
go see my
Missouri.
brother.
They were never supposed to go to
So, Your
Omaha.
Honor?
She kept my son for like 2.5 weeks.
I surely did.
On that Sunday.
I surely did,
that
Your
she
Honor.
brought him. Either she was going to bring me my child Sunday or I was going to call.
You did call the police on us.
No, I didn't. You don't even have a case. If I would have called the police, you would have a case against you.
No matter how you look at it, all of this is just nasty. And somehow, it even gets worse because believe it or not, these women live in the same house. That is right, the same house. And here is how Ms. James explains it.
She lives with me in my home. And when she came in the
She lives with you now?
Yes!
Whoa!
Temporarily.
Miss James, why did you take Miss Beversdorf in if you don't believe Dakari is your son's biological child?
By God's law.
It don't have nothing to do with that.
Wow, let us get down to it and figure out the truth. Is Daryl the father or someone else? Let us see what the DNA test has to say about this absolutely insane case. Who is the real father? Judge Lauren has an answer.
The percentage of relatedness between Mrs. Jacqueline James and Dakari is 99%. You are related.
I'm sorry, Kayla. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mr. Jalek caught Ms. Tillis sending naked pictures to other men while they were together, so he is absolutely certain that he is not the father of her child. Asides that, he also has medical evidence proving that the child is not his. In the meantime, Mr. Jalek has abandoned the child and done nothing for him. Here is how Ms. Tillis says it.
The day my son was born, he has done nothing for my child.
Nothing?
Nothing at all.
Not a dollar?
Not a dollar.
Tell the court what that has been like for you.
I'm struggling. I have to do it all by myself. I'm not working right now.
So precious. Ms. Tillis, I know this has been difficult. I can only imagine. I'm a mother. 2 months in, you are still dealing with postpartum issues.
This sounds sad, but Mr. Jalek does not really care. To him, this child is not his, and he refuses to do anything for the child. He says he does not want to take up another man's responsibilities.
Mr. Jalek, did you turn your back on the baby?
No, Your Honor. Basically, we had a conversation, and like I told her, I refused to take up the next man's slack for a child that's not mine. We wasn't even having relations when she got pregnant.
So, what was the nature of your relationship?
We were having sex because we got history.
Apparently, Mr. Jalek was only sleeping with Ms. Tillis. And as we all know, once you are only sleeping with someone, it is against the law for that person to get pregnant. Great argument, Mr. Jalek. Ms. Tillis used to braid our man's hair, and Mr. Jalek used to sleep with her. It was simply braiding with benefits. That is literally what they called it.
So this started a committed relationship? You met,
I thought it was a committed
Did you date or you just braided his hair then decided I'm moving in?
Thank you. Braiding with benefits.
So obviously,
it's not
you
like
all had a relationship. If she was over there all the time, Mr. Jalik.
We had a situationship. The situation was she was an in-house braider, but at the same time, even back then.
And now they have to negotiate the potential result of that braiding with benefits in paternity court. This went on for 2 whole years, by the way. Anyway, Mr. Jalik gets to the point of why he thinks this baby does not belong to him, and it is bonkers.
Why am I looking at your phone and you got nude pictures going to your ex?
Ms. Tillis, were you sending naked pictures to your ex while you were living in his house and saying he was your boyfriend? She was also having sex with someone else during the window of time that Jadence was conceived.
It's very possible, Your Honor, because I said we've been doing this off and on since 2011.
So there are 2 issues. First, why is Mr. Jalik angry that his braider with benefits is also giving some other chap benefits? And 2, so Ms. Tillis admits that she slept with another man while she was in this situationship? What? Anyway, Ms. Tillis clarifies that point for us.
During the window of time when Jadence was conceived, were you all intimate during that time?
Yes, this is the time where we were working together. We were on and off.
So you and your ex rekindled your relationship or friendship, whatever it was?
It was a friendship. We weren't
But you started having sex with him as well?
Yes, but it was just one time, and we used protection.
So say.
Well, that is a very weird sort of friendship, wouldn't you say? I don't know about you, but Ms. Tillis is not looking good here at all. But Mr. Jalik has even more evidence to prove that he isn't this baby's father. And it is the strangest sort of evidence we have ever seen on paternity court.
My father, myself, and my 3 sons all have what the old folk call a wisdom hole in our right ear at the top. We're born with it. It's a handsome child that she has, but he doesn't have the trait that me, my father, nor my sons have.
It's a pre-auricular sinus. Pre-auricular sinuses in the United States is estimated to be 0 to 0.9%.
And then we get a shocking confession from Ms. Tillis. She once insisted that Mr. Jalik is the only possibility, but now it seems like there could be at least one more possibility. Here is how she puts it.
So you did mess with the other guy at the end of October?
Yes.
So why, when I asked you, did you think he was a possibility, you said no?
Because we used protection. It wasn't, I messed with him in October too. The beginning of February.
And the first conception date they gave you was October 25th?
Yeah, but she wasn't accurate because she didn't know. I asked her, do she know when I conceived?
Okay, that is a bit confusing. The DNA test is the only thing that can bring this case to an end and tell us for certain if the father of this child is Mr. Jalik. And it is time for Judge Lauren to read that test out for us.
Mr. Jalik, you are the father. How does that make you feel, Ms. Tillis?
I'm happy.
Are you?
But I'm emotional at the same time because I went through a lot when I was pregnant.
We could tell.
I apologize.
Ms. Hernandez is in her mid-30s and she loves sleeping with younger men. Today she has dragged one of her younger lovers, who she got married to court to make him take responsibility for her 3-year-old daughter. But this man says that he knows for a fact that Ms. Hernandez was sleeping with another younger man who is his friend, so he cannot be the child's father, and he is also here in court with his girlfriend. Here is their opening interaction.
But you do not believe this is your biological child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Look at her. Look at your 3-year-old daughter that you haven't been there in 3 years.
All right, so pretty much this child is being at least emotionally abandoned. There's some need that she's calling out for and she's getting no response.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, in the court papers, you say you thought you met the man of your dreams. He was a younger man, but you thought he was the man of your dreams.
That is so sad. So here's the thing. Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez once had a great relationship and loved each other very much, but very soon things started falling apart in the weirdest ways. Here is how it all went wrong.
I kicked him out after we had a big argument, and then 2 days later, I told him that I was pregnant with my daughter.
Mr. Hernandez, what is your account?
When we first got together, before she got pregnant, before I found out she was pregnant, I was gone for 2 weeks.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez says that something else happened. He says when he heard that Ms. Hernandez was pregnant, he was told something else that made him start doubting if she was really pregnant with his baby.
I was told that her ex was in the bed.
Someone told you her ex was in your bed?
Yes.
Who? While you're out fishing?
Yes.
Who told you that?
A family member.
A family member of yours or hers?
Mine.
How would they know who I had in my bed?
They seen him.
Yeah, coming out of the house because you and him are friends.
And
you know
that's not
everything.
Her. That's not him.
You know that he was at my house.
It is
even
not
when
him.
you were
I'm
there
not talking
too.
about him.
Basically, Mr. Hernandez is friends with Ms. Hernandez's ex and believes that he is the father of the baby because he slept with Ms. Hernandez while he was away. And he has one more jaw-dropping point to make.
Ms. Hernandez was sleeping with her ex while you were out on this fishing boat.
Yes. And she's even told me when we were separated from the house that she had her ex in the bed.
Nope, that was
She admitted she had her ex in the bed?
Yes, Your Honor. On the phone, she told me that her ex was in the bed.
No.
Wow. Ms. Hernandez says that this ex only comes to her house to speak with her mother, which makes things more weird and not less weird. And this happened throughout their relationship. Gosh. Anyway, Ms. Hernandez sheds more light on this weird relationship she has going on.
This ex is coming in and out of your house frequently, but you say it's to visit your mother.
To visit my mother, yes. Because my mother is like his mother. So, and my ex is young.
You like him young, huh?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I know that's right. Say it loud and say it proud.
Wow, she really likes them young. Ms. Hernandez says that Mr. Hernandez was really happy about the pregnancy at first, but he changed his mind after the baby was born. And Mr. Hernandez says he has a really good reason for that.
I was happy at first, but then after the pregnancy at the hospital, that is when everything
After
changed.
the birth at the hospital?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened at the birth?
2 family members came to the hospital and told me that's not my kid.
Two family members of whom? Her family members, yours?
Hers.
Hers?
Who?
Your mother.
Your mom? Oh, wait.
Because my mama doesn't like you.
Well, if your wife's mother tells you that the child your wife just had is not yours, you would be right to start thinking that maybe the child is not actually really yours. But Ms. Hernandez says this is a total lie. The fact that Ms. Hernandez also did not give the baby Mr. Hernandez's last name made him doubt that the child was his.
He wanted me to name her his last name. I didn't want to. Just in case something like this happened, he denied her.
There you go.
So, Mr. Hernandez, you believe she kept your name off that birth certificate because she knew you weren't the biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, now that is just weird. Anyway, the results are in, and it is time to see who has been telling the truth. Mr. Hernandez or Ms. Hernandez? Let us find out who the father of this beautiful 3-year-old is.
Mr. Hernandez, you are the father.
Told you.
Do you feel a level of remorse and regret because you've pretty much missed 3 years of her life?
Yes.
She's talking. She knows her colors.
And you never called me?
I'm not calling you.
No, we're not doing this. What you're not gonna do is do this.
Zuni was given the name of a father. But the guy turned out to be not. The good thing was, she never felt any connection with that guy. After that episode, the plaintiff was told about Mr. Bomar, who was in the court to be tested.
So you feel it's completely different than when you met the gentleman your mother introduced you to?
Right. And that's pretty much how I've always felt ever since I met him.
And your godmother, who's here with you today, she believes he is your father.
After listening to Miss Frazuni, the judge called up the co-plaintiff, who told the court about how she herself was intimate with the defendant, and both created a false story to sell to Miss Bailey's daughter. Well, the defendant didn't like this narrative and responded like this.
For that, 30 years ago, why did she just bring it up last year?
Is there a reason why you just brought it up?
To stick another dagger in my back against my daughter. As far as stories people have told her, that's just what they were.
Miss Bailey testified to the court that there was no way that Mr. Bomar could be her daughter's father, as she was intimate with multiple people at the time, including her friend at the time, and she blamed Miss Hallams for the reckless choices she made.
I was 21 years old. Maxine was 30.
No, I wasn't.
29, however old.
I was 20.
She was older.
I was 27.
She was way older, and I just let her lead me.
Wait a minute.
She further pleaded that her daughter was being manipulated into thinking that Mr. Boomer was the father by her own friend. Miss Frazzoni, on the other hand, was not ready to believe a word coming from her mother and wanted the alleged father to be tested.
Factual evidence.
And I understand that. I understand that. Because of my past lifestyle, there is reason to doubt.
The next judge asked Maxon to vouch for Bomar, and this ticked the mama at the podium really hard. She totally blew off in the court, blaming her ex over for poisoning her daughter like this.
But the meddling and the trying to compete
and the remembering
for my daughter's love, this is my child. I had her, and you need to stay in your lane.
Oh, the woman went ballistic in a matter of seconds. Maybe she was a little paranoid about sharing her own daughter with another person. Miss Bailey was screaming at the top of her lungs. Even Judge Lake was stunned at the show going on in her own courtroom.
You ain't never been a mother. You should have went and had a baby. tell
Listen to the judge.
Lady.
Listen to the judge, and you listen to the judge.
Lady.
Order in the courtroom. Jerome stays between them, or Maxine might lose her hearing today. Okay, all of this was also unacceptable for the judges, as a 20-year-old woman was standing crying, while her loved ones were busy fighting.
Now, you all can keep arguing and fussing and rehashing your own personal issues. Because I hate to tell you, all this back and forth, it's obvious to me and everybody in this courtroom that it don't have nothing to do with her.
This back and forth is clearly going nowhere, so the judge got the alleged father in the court, who told the judge how he had no idea about the young plaintiff, but since they got connected, and by now, they had developed a bond with each other, Mr. Bomar was also hoping to be the father. Let's see what the DNA result holds.
When it comes to the paternity of 31-year-old Maxina Franzoni, Mr. Bomar, you are not her father. I'm sorry to you both.
Malicious rumors made the son sue her mother and sister. In this case, you can see Ms. Chandler and her boyfriend dragged his mother and sister in the courtroom due to the damage they have intentionally done to the couple's reputation. On the other hand, to support the maniac actions, the defendants claimed that baby mama has manipulated Mr. Hilliard. Let's move to this lunatic episode.
Miss Chandler, you and your boyfriend, Mr. Hilliard, are suing his sister and mother for defamation of character. You claim they are spreading malicious rumors regarding the paternity of your son, Brandon Jr.
The trial began on this note. It was revealed that the plaintiff is promiscuous and has been busy with so many guys, like she's got to play with them on a racing track. However, the mommy admitted the claims and put on the break show like this.
She has a lock on her cell phone to where my brother can't see her phone. She's cheated on my brother. He stayed at my house with his kids.
Now, what proof do you have of that?
She's admitted it to me.
No, I have not.
Uh-oh. Ms. Chandler took over and bashed the defendant over her interference in her life. I mean, girl, that's fair enough. Do good. Have a good situation for the psycho girl. Go get your life, lady. Let others do their things themselves.
You should not be talking about me sleeping around.
What I do with my life is my business.
3 babies, 3 baby daddies. I got 3 babies with the same man.
Okay.
Even after that, the supposed auntie didn't stop to put her leg in the middle and asserted that the child's mommy has been dating some other guy when his brother was away. But Judge Lake had to spill the beans that she needed to keep her nosy behavior shut down for good like that.
A guy that she lived next door to, she started dating him when my brother went to California.
That's why you and your mama decided that I was a bad person because
and I don't even know why you're over there talking in the first place.
I took Brandon away.
Oh my. Here came another out-of-mind person in support of the defendant. The alleged granny claimed that they were robbed and his son had also left them helpless. But Ms. Chandler denied her claims and asserted that they always go nuts when things come to her. So it seems she has brought just more drama to this testimony instead of a sense like this.
You're the one that told me
whenever
I don't need a family, I have a family.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because you turned your back on me, attacking me, coming to my house, trying to like take
then
my
why don't
stepson.
you keep that tater trap of yours shut?
Despite these accusations, it was revealed that Ms. Hilliard had said crap about babies and claimed that Ms. Chandler's babies can never be her grandchildren, even if the DNA test determines that they are. Oh, so why is she holding up crazy grudges against baby mama? Or they both have gone crazy for real?
Hey, punk! You told me they can never be a part of you, even if this test comes back that it's your grandson, right?
I never said that.
You and Gina. Gina. Yeah.
No, I told you that.
Up next, the plaintiff told the court that the defendant's never-ending and lots of drama has split the family apart. And yeah, I have to say that too. No one can tolerate that much torture.
When are you together? You do it. No, you and him broke up because of you, not because of me.
Because 4 years of this.
Oh my. Guys, hold your ears because what next you are going to hear will definitely blow your mind. Ms. Hilliard, have you lost your mind or are you even in your senses? I mean, I am wondering if they even have the court's environment toxic. What could they have done at their home?
Do you feel like Miss Chandler uses your grandkids as pawns?
Yes, ma'am. Just to get whatever she needs out of Brandon.
Back and forth accusations were not helping in solving this exhausting family dispute. So Judge Lauren dismissed them and asked to get those results to settle this conflict once and for all. Let's watch if the DNA results will be able to change both grandma and aunt for babies.
In the case of Brandon Jr., Mr. Hilliard, your wait is over. You are the father.
Thank you. Now apologize.
I'm sorry.
Anger and animosity serve no good, especially when there is a serious illness riding on paternity. And that is the case for Miss Walker, as father finding the truth about her alleged father. She has turned to Mr. Simmons for closure, but his wife does not like this dynamic.
Beat him for the first time in a minute, but you say you must first prove to his doubtful wife that he is your father.
Yes, Your
Well,
Honor.
okay, Miss Simmons, you contend that there's absolutely no way.
So the trial begins with the defendant giving the cold shoulder to Miss Walker, claiming her husband was incapable of having children at all. But the plaintiff had a hard time believing it. She can tell the court how Mrs. Simmons' sister was the one who reached out to her and claims Miss Walker as their brother's daughter. And this fact rubbed the wifey real hard.
No, I wasn't.
Well, how did it happen?
Because the sister called him and said, Bruce, I met so-and-so and so.
Asking for your wife's permission to talk to your own daughter? That sounds odd, isn't it? But Mrs. Simmons was not ready for some random girl to pop into their life. They articulated her reservation quite loudly, which drove Miss Walker to the edge of crying. And this made the judge go like this.
Are you upset that she made contact, or are you upset that your husband may be her biological father?
No, none of that. None of that, because he wants to be a father.
Hold on.
Who knew that being left out could boil up such rage in anyone, and some stranger looking for her father would have to pay for it? Nonetheless, the plaintiff told the court that the defendant's husband was the one who reached out to her after taking her number from his own sister. Listening to this, judge realized that it was high time to get the potential father into the court.
Mr. Simmons, welcome.
you?
Thank you for joining us here today. So we are discussing Ms. Walker. She says that you contacted her and said you believe you're her biological father.
The reason Mr. Simmons believed to be her father was the affair with Miss Walker's mother. Even though it just lasted for weeks, it did have baby-making potential. A little odd confession for a TV show, right? But that is how reality TV goes. And FYI, Mrs. Simmons was no fan of the story.
You were intimate with her.
Intimate with for 2 days, yes.
No protection used.
No protection, no nothing.
But was in a relationship before that, because he just said that they were.
Well, ma'am, it doesn't matter if you like it or not, your husband is in for this. It further revealed that Miss Walker and Mr. Simmons shared a lot of similarities. They both had asthma, and the same cancer gene ran in their family, which deepened their belief of being related.
So even if it's not him, somewhere in this long of line of right, I'm somewhere close to finding out.
That's one reason why I'm propelled to really find out, because there is a medical history in my family.
However, everyone, including the plaintiff, could not understand why Mrs. Simmons was giving her a hard time. Because anyone in their right mind would get threatened by someone's daughter, would they? Apparently, the enraged wife could not step down a notch.
I'm the innocent one, because whatever she has animosity, that's what my mama and him. Because guess what? Y'all weren't
But
together.
my point is, it should have been done. I've been telling him, get a blood test. Stop signing on the dotted line. Stop claiming kids and let you know they're yours.
About to you?
Hold up, woman. You might burst my eardrum. Goodness, she doesn't know when to stop, does she? Her attitude had the judge totally baffled. I mean, who wouldn't get confused with a grown woman acting like a stubborn child?
I am observing is a level of animosity, Jerome, that we see with two women that are involved in the same man sexually, not involved with the same man because he's your husband. She can't take that away.
Oh, boggy Mrs. Simmons even had the judge all rushed up. All of her corners were just to compete with Pleiades, and she had no care about her suffering from illness or finding the roots. Mrs. Walker's only hope of closure is that envelope.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Bruce Simmons, you are not her father.
To determine about the deceased son's legacy, Ms. Bank came to the court in order to discover whether what Ms. Hawkins alleged is true or a big hoax. The supposed grandma claimed that the baby mama is just trying to pin the baby on her deceased son, whereas the mother alleged that Mr. Darrell acknowledged the paternity, and his mother is just denying the child out of spite. Let's move to the case.
Ms. Banks, you say the defendant is pinning her baby on your son, Darrell, who was tragically murdered before her child was born.
The trial began with Miss Banks's explanation of why she is denying the baby Jasani. It turned out that before his tragic death, her son expressed paternity doubts. She claimed that they had a wishy-washy relationship, but how does she know so much about them? Was she playing with them?
We were really close. We talked all the time, every day. Jada met my son on Facebook, and she came and moved in with him the same day that she met him. They were dating, and they were off and on. They kept breaking up.
Next up, Mommy testified, and while giving the relationship recap, she stated the whole opposite story. It slipped out that the potential baby dad acknowledged the paternity, and they had goo-goo eyes for each other that made her certain that Mr. Darrell is the father like that.
And I had a strong relationship. We were on and off.
I loved him very much. He loved me very much. When I told him I was pregnant, he wanted me to keep it. We got back together and we started working on it.
As the trial proceeded, it turned out that grandmother thinks that Ms. Hawkins is the reason behind all of her devastating loss because she was the last person who was with his son before his terrible death. Oh, come on, ladies. What are you holding on to each other? Watch how things went off with this testimony.
Correction, I was not the last person to see him. The people that did that was the last people to see him.
You're right.
She feels like I'm the reason her son is dead. That's how she feels. You're really the reason your son is dead.
I'm not the reason he's dead.
The frustrated plaintiff revealed that the defendant didn't even name her son after Mr. Darrell, and it is causing doubts regarding the baby's paternity, whereas baby mommy explained the whole part of her side that led to heated up the situation like this, and there's nothing that could stop Granny and mommy.
Darrell told me out his own mouth, he don't want his son. I said, if it's a boy, do you want him named after you? I don't like my name. Give my son his own name. That's what I did. But not only that, my son's whole name is Jani Darrell Ray Daniel.
Over and over, things were getting more intense. What Ms. Hawkins claimed next will blow your mind. It looked like the plaintiff, whatever the plaintiff was doing, was due to the biggest loss she had to face. But why threaten anyone? Well, that's what psychopaths do.
Darrell had just passed. She was going through a lot, calling me, picking fights with me, threatening me. I don't know you, and I'm going to jump on a plane to come move with you.
I was threatening you?
No.
For what?
You threatened me to this day.
Even so, those intense claims, the plaintiff didn't take a seat. She started a wrangle in the courtroom, and Judge Lake had to hop up into a squabble to cut them off. Yes, ladies, please stop. Don't start over and over again like that.
Yes, be in a new environment.
She should have just said that.
Well, yeah, but at
all that mouth she got.
That's a lot of pressure.
She got
I had a lot of pressure on me at that time.
She wasn't scared. She lied. Look at all that mouth she got. Where you see scared at it?
Well, I wasn't gonna say she was scared.
However, during their non-stop arguments, it was revealed that the baby mama filed for child support when his son passed away. But baby mama turned the whole show with her logical explanation like this.
If a mother goes down to welfare and file for welfare and get on assistance, the father automatically goes on child support. I explained to them that Darrell passed away. They said, give us his social, we're gonna run it anyway and find his death certificate.
Where could you?
Alas, feeling sad for both the plaintiff and the defendant, their ongoing further fuels the whole situation instead of helping to resolve the case. But it was quite evident that they both need to know the results vehemently for baby and his late daddy. So let's go, get those results and see if they will help Granny find some peace or not.
It has been determined by this court the percentage of relatedness between Miss LaWinda Banks and Jani Daniel is 99.99%. You are related.
Be shocked at the end of this case? Oh, I bet you will. Trust me, it's all shades of crazy with these guys. Ms. Chmielewski had a beautiful 5-year relationship with the defendant's son, but sadly, her lover passed away. The parents of her deceased lover were at war with Ms. Chmielewski. Here is how the session went.
You say you had a loving 5-year relationship with the defendant's son, Georgie, who unfortunately died in a motorcycle accident. You claim the defendants initially accepted your son, Xavier, but now need proof that they are Xavier's grandparents. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you're looking for tension, just take a seat in the courtroom because there's a lot of it for everyone. The defendant, Ms. Brown, wasn't going to go easy on Ms. Chmielewski, trust me. She seemed like she didn't want any trouble, but all that was a disguise. Ms. Brown couldn't understand why she had never met Ms. Chmielewski. Was their relationship a secret?
Why didn't I know about you?
I don't understand why you didn't know about me either.
Okay, that's not an answer.
5-year relationship?
Why don't I know about you?
Never heard of her.
I've never seen you in my house.
Did you ever ask Georgie why you haven't introduced me to your parents?
No, because we were just friends. It was like a sexual friendship that we had for so many years.
It doesn't seem like Ms. Chmielewski and her lover had a romantic relationship. Judging from that revelation, they had multiple sexual partners. Ms. Brown even claimed she knew her son's girlfriend, and it wasn't Ms. Chmielewski. Looks like there could be more truth bombs coming our way.
I reached out to her. Okay, my son is not here. He's not here. I'm picking up where he left off.
Basically, we found out when he actually sent me a picture or a text message when I was talking to him one time, and he sent me a picture and he said, Dad, what do you think? This could be my kid. And I told him at that time that, I really couldn't tell from the picture.
Isn't that interesting? Ms. Brown is still claiming she never met her son's supposed-to-be girlfriend, adding more drama to the already complicated situation. Ms. Brown says, before her son passed, one of his close friends told him that Ms. Chmielewski's baby might not be his. Could that have been true?
Friend of Georgie's, very close friend, told him, listen, you need to find out if this baby is Georgie. So it's other people in the neighborhood must be saying something because he came to me after 2 years.
Okay.
Okay? He brought this to my attention. It went over my head.
You told me that he looks like all your other grandkids.
My grandkids are biracial.
But that's what you said. He has Georgie's nose.
My grandkids are biracial.
They were going to get a DNA test? Ms. Chmielewski must really wish her lover was alive right now. Watching Ms. Brown deny her baby just breaks her heart. Up next, Judge Lauren asks Ms. Chmielewski if her deceased lover and baby ever had a relationship. Here's how that played out.
Did Georgie accept Xavier? Did they have a relationship?
He saw him a couple times. They took pictures together and...
5-year relationship? You only saw him a couple times?
No, with the baby.
Why did he only see the baby a couple times when he was almost a year old?
He wasn't positive if it was his or not. So he didn't want to get too close, you know? He didn't.
That was very unexpected. Ms. Chmielewski isn't even sure the baby belongs to Ms. Brown's son. She was trying to figure out the truth just before he passed away. Regardless of that, Ms. Chmielewski believed the baby belonged to her lover, but Ms. Brown just wouldn't let her breathe.
So there's one other man besides Georgie.
Telling me?
Or did you ever tell the other guy?
He had passed away when I was 5 months pregnant.
Oh.
He had got murdered. So a family member of mine had contacted his family. They did not respond until Xavier turned 2.
Now that's one truth bomb that is going to change the whole dynamic of this case. There's another potential father, and his dead, too. Believe me, I am shocked. Anytime Ms. Chmielewski talks to her little boy about who his father might be, she says it's Ms. Brown's son, and that just keeps making Ms. Brown lose her cool even more.
When you talk to Xavier about his father, he's 2 now. Do you talk to him about his father? Who do you tell him his father is?
I tell him Georgie's.
See, that's the problem.
What do you tell him?
That he watches his videos and I say, you know, that's daddy.
And he points to the videos and says daddy.
He calls him daddy.
Because either way, Georgie told me no matter what the results were when he was alive, that he was gonna be in his life.
After this, Ms. Brown pointed out the real reason behind her anger and hurt. She claimed she had no hate for Ms. Chmielewski, but was disappointed that she didn't mention that her son could be a potential father all this while. Trying to defend herself, Ms. Chmielewski says she never brought it up then because everyone was grieving at the time.
If I wasn't here today, that baby could be a teenager and not know who his dad is. If I didn't step in, you know, this is something she should have done a long time ago. When it first happened, she should have said we weren't sure. I would have went along with her because you told me the truth and say you wasn't sure. That's okay. That was truthful. All right. That's all. So why did I have to wait till the baby's 3 years old to find this out?
Because I didn't have money to come up with all that money for the test.
An endless flow of non-stop revelations. What's going on? Now, there's a ghost video. Apparently, Ms. Chmielewski believed that in one of her moments of capturing her child's excitement, she saw a ghost of her late lover playing with her child. What universe does Ms. Chmielewski come from?
So you say this is a video of your son, Xavier, and in the video you can see Georgie's spirit.
I said it looks like a spirit. It said it's like a cloud.
Okay, talk me through this video.
We're sitting in the car right now, and my friend is videotaping him and talking to him, and as you can see on the right, there is like this cloudy thing that comes out of nowhere in my...
The DNA result was all that mattered to the broken family because no one was willing to show leniency to one another. What binds people when love and respect are not present? Let's get right to it.
The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Brown and Mr. Long and Xavier Chmielewski is 0%.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Georgie.
Trust me, the surprises never end in the paternity courtroom. Ms. Herman had no time to fool around. She was ready to prove to the courtroom that Mr. Houston was the biological father of her son. Baby daddy wasn't ready to take the chance that he was the father of her baby. Here's how their chaotic session began.
Ms. Herman, you are here to prove that Mr. Houston is the biological father of your 2-year-old son, Corey. You contend the defendant duped you and was living a double life. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Houston, you claim that you are not the biological father of Ms. Herman's son and will clear your name when the results are read. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Herman should probably get paid to be an actual investigator. So all this while, Mr. Houston was married and even had kids? Oh, wow. He lied to Ms. Herman all so he could kick it in bed without having to play the baby daddy role. Well, that's not how it works, Mr. Houston.
During the time I was pregnant, I had told Mr. Houston that I was pregnant. He said that he would be there for me and my child. After 2 doctor's appointments, he stopped showing up. So I got a little suspicious. cases. So I got my investigation glasses on, you know, and I found out via Facebook that he has a wife and children. And I have the evidence right here, Your Honor. Your Honor, that is a wedding band on his hand.
That came out of the blues real quick. Mr. Houston already had 5 kids with his wife. Oh, Mr. Houston sure has a lot of explaining to do. I wonder if his wife knows what's going on. Moving on, Mr. Houston tries to defend himself by saying it all happened before he had a family. But was that really true?
I wasn't curious about the extra stuff. I was more curious about getting to know who she was.
So your marriage and your kids and your wife were all extra things?
No, it wasn't extra at all. It was just something that, you know, I didn't communicate with her.
Why?
Well, because, you know, I wasn't trying to go in a direction of being with her, or I wasn't going to.
But you didn't use protection when you were sleeping with her.
There definitely has to be more to their story because these secrets popping out are beyond mind-blowing. Judge Lauren then asks Ms. Herman how she met Mr. Houston, and she takes the courtroom on a joyride. Here's how that little situation played out.
At the time, buying me shots of Patron. You know, that's an expensive drink. He also had a truck with rims on it and with nice, you know, nice beats in it. So at the young age that I am, I'm thinking like, you know, I'm young and naive. I'm thinking like, he's got it going on.
When did you two become intimate? That same night?
That same night.
After the club?
He took me home to his house, and I went, and this is how I did.
Wait a minute. He took you home to his house. Where was his wife and his kid?
Well, Mr. Houston was not remorseful for cheating on his wife, that's for sure. He didn't even look like he cared if Ms. Herman was hurt or upset that he kept his family a secret from her. He then went on to try to explain the whole situation from his side of the story. And it was just a compilation of him jumping from one lie to the next.
Introduce yourself.
I introduced myself. It was more of a, how you doing? What you doing in here? Where you from? You know? And it was cool, but the same energy I was transferring, she was giving back. So it was like she made me feel like she was used to doing this all the time. But I was okay with what was going on because I had plans on taking her home at the end of the day.
And which home is this?
I didn't take her to my home.
Suppose there wasn't enough lying already. After having a sexual relationship with Mr. Houston that lasted for just 1 month, she finds out she's pregnant. Of course, she reaches out to him and tells him about the baby, hoping they can take things further. But does he want the same thing?
I was pregnant, and he didn't say anything on the other line of that phone. He said, "Are you for real?" I said, "Yes, I'm for real." Then he promised that he would be there throughout the whole pregnancy, not just 2 doctors.
At what point do you discover that he has a wife? Are you already pregnant?
Yes.
I'm not even going to deny it. Ms. Herman is a hopeless romantic. Sad she had to end up with Mr. Lying Ass. Now, Mr. Houston changes his cards, and when he's asked if his wife knew he was sneaking out of the house to have a good time with Ms. Herman, his answer leaves everyone in shock.
Mr. Houston, did your wife have any idea you were leaving the house at 2 in the morning and sleeping with another woman?
See, the thing is this, we were already on the verge of going through a divorce. Things wasn't what she expected it to be.
Look at his eyebrows.
Maybe you didn't understand my question. Did your wife know you left the house to go sleep with another woman?
No, she did not.
Oh boy, I bet Mr. Houston didn't see that coming. The judge took him by surprise, and he was definitely caught off guard. She had his ex-wife on standby to confirm if he was really telling the truth. Judge Lauren talks to his wife over a video call, and here's what happens in the situation.
I discovered that, you know, they were doing whatever was a message came in his phone. When I have the baby, I want to move in with you. So I'm looking like, who the hell is this? And what is she talking about? You know, and I'm like, so somebody is pregnant by you? Like, you know, I'm trying to get answers, and he like playing dumb, you know, wouldn't tell me the truth about it. So, I mean, you know, like eventually I end up calling the number and I talk to her.
Another truth bomb hits the floors of the courtroom. Mr. Houston got his wife and Ms. Herman pregnant at the same time? He must really love to make babies because that's the only reasonable explanation. But can Mr. Houston slow down with the lies?
Business of making babies, you know. I have every reason to extend my bloodline. Let me let you know, you know, when I was 10 years old, I lost my superhero, you know, my father, you know. And once I seen my baby, it was really like a replacement because I could see all my dad's features in my child.
You are basically expressing that you experienced an emotional trauma.
Yeah,
losing your father.
Exactly.
And you thought by making more children,
I'll be connected with my father.
You will be connecting with your father.
And again, another revelation sparks the air in the courtroom. They get to the debate about the use of protection when they were having their little playtime in the bedroom. And apparently, they both have different stories to tell the judge.
I'm pregnant.
But you did not use protection, did you?
I didn't know this woman from Timbuktu.
Lying.
I didn't know her
he
from
did
Timbuktu.
not use protection.
Young Gunga, I didn't know this woman. I didn't know her
He
at
must
all.
be talking about one of the other girls, because it wasn't me. I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly, and I want you to know this.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex, but not allergic to sex?
This woman tried to trap me.
I mean, it's like
sex at all.
Screaming and yelling won't solve anything. This broken relationship was at the mercy of the DNA envelope. They were both sure of what they had to say, and the truth was just seconds away. Let's see what fate the results hold.
Mr. Houston, you are not the father.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus. I ain't gotta talk to this man not no more.
So you just did all this.
I don't want to hear nothing else you got to say.
It's
I'm
cool,
free.
you know.
Yep.
Miss Herman, I asked you,
came to the
was
bed.
there any other man?
When we were sleeping together, we were sleeping together. I slept with somebody prior.
In this paternity dilemma, Mr. Taylor believed there was no way in the world he could be the father of the defendant's child. He claimed their time together was too short for her to have his baby, and another man was present at the child's birth. Ms. Orr, on the other hand, felt insulted by the whole situation. Who's going to win in this episode?
Mr. Taylor, you say that you had a whirlwind 2-week romance with the defendant, and after it ended, she called to tell you that she was pregnant with your child. You say another man was at the hospital for the baby's birth, and therefore your DNA test will come back negative. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hold on. Ms. Orr has been running away from a DNA test? Could she be trying to pin the baby on Mr. Taylor? I guess we're about to find out. The judge proceeds to ask them what kind of relationship they had, and here's how that boat sailed.
For Eric?
No, Your Honor. I believe that Michael, if he wants a DNA test, he needs to get it done, not me. It's not my job. And Eric does look like Mr. Taylor.
She's lying, Your Honor.
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
All right, take me back. I want to understand how this relationship started.
Well,
Where
we
did
had
you meet?
started dating on offline. I met her offline.
Well, let's not judge a book by its cover just yet. Did Mr. Taylor just say their relationship lasted for only 2 weeks? That's not even enough time to say I love you. Mr. Taylor claimed they only kicked it in the bed a few times, but Ms. Orr remembered differently. She said they had sex more than 10 times. It must have been a busy 2 weeks for both of them.
Coming back, we done slept with each other maybe more than 10 times.
No, Your Honor.
10 times in 2
Then that's when I found out I was pregnant.
No, Your Honor.
Was Mr. Taylor the only man you were intimate with, Ms. Orr?
There's other men, but at the time, Mr. Taylor was the only one that I slept with when I was off my birth control.
No, Your Honor.
Darren, when I got pregnant around August.
Can these two even agree on anything? Now they get to the debate of who calls who after finding out about the baby, and it turns into an even bigger mess. Ms. Orr claimed she contacted him and told him about the baby, but the baby, Daddy remembered the story a little differently.
Called me over the phone to tell me she was pregnant. Okay, then again,
That's when Mr.
I
Taylor
asked for
hollered
DNA.
for a DNA test.
Did you say the baby is yours or it could be yours?
Could be yours.
No,
Could be.
It is yours.
No, Your Honor. She
Yes.
has done nothing but sit here and tell me this is
No.
nothing but my
No.
child. I have been here. She has ran from the DNA. If it's such doubt and everything, if he is mine, why do you run from a DNA test?
That was a burst. Ms. Orr sure feels confused on the stand, and the judge wasn't going to let that slide. Mr. Taylor just wasn't going to accept the role of a father without everything in check. He even said he knew 3 other men who could be potential fathers of the baby.
I myself knew of 3 other different possibilities.
No,
she had
there's
been
no
with.
other three.
It's conception, not a contract. Jerome, he said he did not agree to those terms, okay? So at that moment, what you're saying is you did not believe that you were the only possible father.
I didn't know.
Did you believe, Mr. Taylor, you were one of the possible fathers?
I did.
You don't need me to tell you that it looks suspicious as hell. She knew he was the father, and she didn't tell him she was going into labor. Something smells fishy, believe me. Did Ms. Orr feel bad about not telling him? Trust me, she didn't. She even said he was lucky. She told him about the pregnancy. Does she really want him to be the father?
Could be Eric's dad.
Oh, what did she tell you about other possibilities, Mr. Taylor?
Because I was told by the nurse there was another man in her room.
That was a
when
friend
she had
guy.
this child.
Really?
He was a friend guy.
Was this a friend you've been intimate with in the past?
No.
So why is he up at the hospital?
Because he supposed to been like the godfather of my son.
How did you have time to notify the godfather and not the biological father?
Suppose there wasn't enough lying already. Ms. Orr didn't sound so convincing anymore. I mean, her story was starting to have a lot of loopholes, but the story was only getting interesting. Mr. Taylor might be denying the baby in the courtroom, but there's evidence showing he did love the child.
I do not know why. I do not know why I deserve it.
What I want to understand is, you're at the hospital, you take these beautiful photos,
Right.
post them up. What happens at the hospital that would make you retract all of this?
For the fact of she had made me had doubt that he was not mine.
How did she give you that doubt?
Because she told me to take the pictures of her son off Facebook.
Baby mama definitely has her hands in the dirt now. Ms. Orr couldn't help herself anymore. The lies and excuses just kept coming out of her mouth like she was writing a novel about the lies.
You say that your baby has a crooked penis, and that was a point of proof.
No, Your Honor, not point of
She's
proof.
lying, Your Honor.
To let him know that his son is going to be having surgery in August.
Then why would she ask?
Is that how you took it, Mr. Taylor?
Why would she ask? Why would she ask?
Well, I thought she would know.
Right?
But I ain't one to gossip.
At this point, there's really no point for the judge to keep dragging the whole situation any further. It's been a whole mess, and the only way out is the results hidden behind the envelope. What do you think about their future after the DNA outcome? Let's see the results.
Mr. Taylor, you are not the father. Calm down, Mr. Taylor. I know this was disappointing. I could tell from the pictures you had formed a bond with the baby.
I wish I never knew her.
These high school sweethearts were for sure not having it with each other anymore, bouncing from cheating to pathological liars. And now there's a baby involved. You can bet there's a lot of drama circled round these guys. I'm sure you're already buckled in, so let's get the show on the road.
And you appear in court today because you are devastated that your first love and the person you lost your virginity to is now denying your 15-month-old son, Aiden. You say once you prove to the defendant that he is the father, you hope you two can finally be a family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Shands was determined to prove to the court that high school love was the biological father of her baby. Mr. Hollis, who happened to be the boyfriend in question, believed there was no way on earth he could have fathered her child. It was a classic case of kids making babies. But Mr. Hollis wasn't going to make it easy.
Today, I would like to accomplish that Amir is the father of my child. He has been in my baby life ever since my baby has been 3 months. He's my first love, my first kiss, my first everything. And today, I just want to know the truth about, I want to prove to him that he is the father of my child.
Now, the love story between Mr. Hollis and Ms. Shands started when they were in middle school. Things seemed pretty sweet back then, but things took a twisted turn when he found out she was messing around with some of his friends.
After middle school, when we hit high school, everything was going straight, her freshman year. But after that, when we had got into that one argument, we broke up, and then that was that. And she started messing with my homeboy, and she started messing with multiple people.
Your Honor, me and his was close friends once before.
They was, but they
She used to come back and tell me that Mr. Amir, he was messing with one of my friends.
Mr. Hollis was no saint either. He was also messing about with some of her friends. Missy Shands said they weren't so smart at the time and didn't really know what they were doing because they were young. Well, Judge Lauren slammed her straight up, and trust me, she wasn't nice.
But I thought it was cool to go mess with one of his friends because he had slept with one of mine. We both had made a mistake.
No.
We both made a mistake.
That's not how it is.
All right.
This is really what went on. All of them would be at my house every weekend. His friend, that's the other guy that she messed around with, and they would be there all the time.
In no time, the courtroom turned into a kids' assembly with both Mr. Hollis and Ms. Shands chattering, "No, I didn't sleep with your best friend. No, he was my best friend. No, he wasn't your best friend." Judge Lauren was boiling like she was made of lava.
This is exactly why you all need to be just out playing a sport, learning a craft.
Yes.
This just sounds about silly. So you have revenge sex with one of his friends. And did you use protection?
No.
And then how many times did you have sex with this friend of his?
Multiple times.
Now Ms. Shands finds out she's pregnant. Ain't no surprise there if we are being honest. She picks up her phone and beeps Mr. Hollis's friend to tell him she is pregnant. Surprising thing, he's pretty excited about the baby. But here's the plot twist. She also tells Mr. Hollis she's pregnant too. Now that just starts to make a mess of everything.
Well, he was happy. He was happy.
And so you also tell Mr. Hollis?
I told him not as soon as I got pregnant. He ended up finding out on the street. But I ended up telling him. And I guess he ended up telling his mom as well. And I was telling them that it's a possibility that it can be him or the friend. I never told the friend that it can be a possibility with another guy. I only told his mother that it can be a possibility.
Fast forward to when the baby is born. Mr. Hollis is nowhere to be found. Not at the hospital, not anywhere. Guess who shows up to be with her in the hospital? The best friend is the one who plays the father role in the hospital. Mr. Hollis says he didn't even know she was pregnant or she went into labor. When he found out, she wouldn't let him be around her.
me when Aiden was born.
In the hospital?
In the hospital. In labor.
In labor.
And my mom, I sent my mom there because I knew there was a possibility that my son could be the dad as well. He favored my son when he was born.
So wait, and so Mr. Hollis, you just didn't want to be there, or you felt like you weren't invited?
I wasn't never invited. Like, anything I ever found out about the baby, I found out by myself. Like, I ain't even know she was in labor. I had to find that out.
Judge Lauren couldn't hide her irritation from these kids anymore. It was turning into a reality show for kids, and the judge was not going to have any of that in her courtroom. Things just kept going from bad to worse.
No, he didn't have his ID at the time. That's why he didn't sign.
He wasn't intending on signing.
At what point do you just say, you know what, I don't think you're the father, I think Mr. Hollis is my child's father? Do you ever have that conversation? Do you ever just come clean?
With the friend?
Yes.
No, I never even talked to him about it.
After all the back and forth of kids giving birth to kids, the moment of truth is finally here. It's time we draw the curtains on these kids' funny behaviors and find out the truth. Take a seat back and focus your eyes on the judge.
Mr. Hollis, you are not the father. I see tears in your eyes, Ms. Shands, because I know how desperately you wanted Mr. Hollis to be Aiden's biological father.